What's happening, Magnus? See if there's anything that I missed. Because I know new rock stars are going to tell me if there anything was there that I missed. You know what I mean? So, let's get it on. Never know, I might have to pause and play with this. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is an explanation of the ending of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and how James Gunn brought to conclusion his Guardians saga in the MCU, and the musicians whose royalties he skyrocketed by putting them in the soundtrack. It's really early, but a lot of you are starting to see this movie as of today, and I am here right now to just clear up any questions you might have coming out of this film, and point to some details and full circle callbacks you might have missed. Now, I'll talk about the post-credit scenes a bit in this video, but really I'm going to dig into them more in a separate video. Here, I'm just going to cover how this movie in general wraps everything up, and some unanswered questions. Also, my live breakdown and Q&A of this movie will be on the Deep Dive channel tomorrow at noon Eastern. Come join me for that and bring all your questions. And you can support us by grabbing some of our Guardians-inspired shirts at nerdriot.shop. Okay, spoilers ahead, obviously. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 reveals that Rocket was a test subject created by the High Evolutionary Herbert Wyndham, numbered 89P13, part of the 89 batch of broken toys that also included Lila, Teefs, and Floor. Rocket was the only one of Wyndham's creations capable of original thought and inventive problem solving, which really frustrated Wyndham, who had planned to populate his new world, Counter-Earth, not with Rocket and his friends, but with other animalistic hybrids who could be rapidly evolved into humanoids without violent outbursts, though life found a way, and general human dickishness found a way. Rocket tried to free Lila and the others, giving her a wonderful hug, but Herbert kills the other three, and Rocket scratches the hell out of his face and escapes. Ever since 89P13 was Wyndham's 24601 pursuit. We also learned that it was Wyndham who created the genetically perfect Sovereign, Aisha, and her new baby boy Adam Warlock from Volume 2, and Adam, in an opening attack of the film, severely wounds Rocket, and the Guardians are unable to heal Rocket without triggering a kill switch, so the Guardians have to go to OrgoCorp for Rocket's parts manual, and then from there go find Wyndham's recorder, Theo, on Counter-Earth, tackling him out of Wyndham's ship, but leaving Nebula, Drax, and Mantis on Wyndham's ship as it leaves Counter-Earth behind to explode. Wyndham's ship is kind of a Noah's Ark of animal test subjects, larger animal warriors with cybernetic parts, and caged children in seal wigs bred with efficient metabolisms and happiness levels, whom Drax just hits it off with. Because remember, he had a daughter, he's a good daddy, so these three run into some abolists.
Remember when he was making his monkey sounds? I was like, that's not a monkey.
Suggesting these were also creations by Herbert Wyndham, but Mantis is able to tame them, and all the Guardians come back together on the ship, striking the ship with the mobilized skull of nowhere. They fight through Wyndham's warriors in a sick hallway fight sent to the Beastie Boys. No sleep till Brooklyn, and Rocket returns to his
That was
old
a badass
cage,
scene
looking
right there.
inside at the other young raccoons that are in there still, and he reads the inside label of the cage to confirm that he is indeed a North American raccoon. Wyndham tries to kill him, but the Guardians gang up on Wyndham, including Gamora, who delivers on Peter Quill's recurring promise in this movie that it would be a face-off and peels off Wyndham's face. Reminding us a lot of Marvel's last evil eugenicist, Red Skull. We see the bloody face Rocket left Wyndham with, and he gasps, "I just wanted to make things perfect." And Rocket responds,
"He didn't want to make things perfect. He just hated things the way they are."
And Rocket refuses to kill him, saying, "I'm a freaking Guardian of the Galaxy." The Guardians evacuate all life forms off Wyndham's ship to nowhere, kids and the animals, including this little weirdo named Lambshank, voiced by James Gunn. It sounds like.
Me.
I was screaming at something scary behind you, not you. You look really cool.
Thank you.
But Peter has to run back for his Zune, and this falling apart ship's airlock link with nowhere gets severed, so Peter has to space jump. He gets stuck. Everyone cries, thinking he's gonna die as his face blows up, and Adam Warlock recreates Michelangelo's creation of Adam to rescue Peter and fly him back. Gamora looks out over the new arrivals of Nowhere and says she never really figured out with Peter in this movie since she was from another timeline with no history with him. She turns to leave with the Ravagers, but stops to tell Peter, "I bet we were fun," and Peter responds, "Like you wouldn't believe." Then Peter tells the other Guardians he's leaving, as does Mantis. Drax wants to go with Mantis, but Nebula says she needs Drax to look after these kids, saying, "You weren't born to be a destroyer, you were born to be a dad." Peter names Rocket the new captain of the Guardians. They salute Rocket, and Groot, for the first time, saying words other than "I am we we are, or Groot, for the first time says, I love you guys. Rocket pulls out the Zune, which has a page torn from Peter's Elf comic with a message written from Yondu saying, I went back and got this for you, Pete. Rocket scrolls through the 2000s playlist and plays Florence and the Machine's The Dog Days Are Over. And as this plays over the speakers of nowhere, it becomes a huge dance party. Rocket and Groot dance together. Drax waves goodbye to Mantis, who leaves with the Abelisks. And Drax, who has always claimed to be a non-dancer, joins the Sea of Wind kids in the dance circle. Peter returns to his old neighborhood in Missouri after Mantis reminded him in this movie that he had family back on Earth, that his grandfather lost both his daughter and his grandson on that day in 1988. Peter asks for Jason Quill, establishing that his middle name that we saw on the Xandar booking screen in the 2014 film, Jason, comes from his grandpa. And the two men hug. We end the film back on nowhere. Cosmo howls, Nebula screams, Groot roars, and Rocket, after denying being a raccoon throughout all these films and finally realizing that he actually is one, embraces his inner animal and lets loose a howl. Now the post-credit scenes show the new Guardians lineup with the young Phyla, know who she is in the post-credit scene video, as well as a massive Alpha Groot listening to Redbone's Come and Get Your Love, an early song from the 2014 film, and the second scene showing Peter eating breakfast with Grandpa Jason talking about helping someone mow the grass, but that her son should help, and Jason says, don't even get me started, dishing some retirement village goss, it sounds like. But one thing we need to address is the High Evolutionary and his mysterious backstory. I mentioned the visual parallel with Johann Schmidt, Red Skull, but there is a philosophical similarity between them when it comes to their desire to perfect humanity and perfect Earth based on the principles of eugenics and Friedrich Nietzsche's Übermann, or the superior man, something that influenced the Nazis, and which Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster co-opted to create Superman and American superhero comics to combat Nazi propaganda from the 1930s, which is how we also got Captain America and all of Marvel comics as well. Remember, there was a flashback where Rocket told Wyndham, I can't, and Wyndham corrected, cunt, using a proper British accent, also sounding like a horrible insult, but also a homophone for Kant, as in Immanuel Kant, another German philosopher who founded the ethical principle that an action can only be moral if A, it is motivated by a sense of duty, and B, its maxim may be rationally willed a universal objective law. Wyndham was definitely inspired by the culture and philosophy that he found on Earth. He listened to earthly Gregorian chants, Chigwoody Wooji aligned himself with Henry IV as he played these scenes, heavy lies the head that wears the crown, and in this scene there's an interesting exchange with Peter Quill.
Your friend once took advantage. I learned my lessons. I aimed some small part of my mental capacity back in my own direction, and now gravity itself serves my whims. You must find Counter-Earth familiar.
Counter-Earth?
I visited your planet many years ago.
Earth hasn't been my planet in a long time.
Your people had wonderful spirit. The art and music and literature were some of the finest in the universe. Earth would be a fabulous place were it not for the ignorance and bigotry.
Okay.
Now, in the comics, Herbert Wyndham was an early 20th century scientist and set up a base on Wounded Gore Mountain.
RoboCop in the movie, that was funny.
Madness, but in the comics, Wounded Gore Mountain was where he had a base where his creation Bova nursed Pietro and Wanda Maximoff. Now, in the MCU, Herbert Wyndham founded OrgoCorp, a company that creates cybernetic parts for civilizations across the galaxy, and he's seen as a god figure who created races like the Animen and the Sovereign. And it was implied that he may have created and destroyed past Counter-Earths the way he viewed this one as so disposable. And what's scariest about all this is Wyndham might still be alive, and his influence lives on in an empire of creations bred according to his awful philosophy. That cosmic caste system remains the most disturbing part of this film. Not just the violence toward animals that are triggering some audiences, but beneath all that, a nefarious tolerance from everyone else in the cosmic MCU of a wannabe god who could get away with this specious murder and genocide for so long. Let's just hope this guy never teams up with Red Skull, another Marvel villain who's still out there in space somewhere. Hey, a reminder to subscribe to our new channel.
Forgot about that.
You can support us by grabbing some merch at nerdriot.shop. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EABoss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis from Think Love. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Now, after you look at you guys' in-depth analysis, yeah, it was a good movie, y'all. It's a good movie. Definitely go check it out. Make sure you subscribe to the New Rockstars. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I just got done doing a spoiler talk discussion with you guys that was live, so go check that out if you missed it. And I will see y'all in the next video. 10 million subscribers. Woo!